Ironic, isn't it? He could save others from death, but he couldn't save himself. But with that out of the way, though, I know everybody's going to be talking about that final part of the episode. Ainz has encountered Demi. Now, we all know. We all know how intelligent Demi is. And we know how Ainz has been keeping his cover when it comes to Momonga. He's been, playing as an adventurer, and he's been gathering information, getting money and all that for all of Nazarick. He's just going out of his way to make sure everything's going fine. And, that's basically been the entire objective with him having that different identity since Season 1. And with him encountering Demi at the end of this episode, it's like, whoa, what's gonna happen here? Because, obviously, Demi is not going to, kill Ainz or even try to fight really real against him because, we know how much, they care about the Supreme Beings, how much they care about Ainz. And so none of the Guardians, Overseers, or any of them, they're not going to even touch Ainz. That's how it normally is. So with that happening, it makes you wonder, is Ainz's cover about to get blown? Is his identity of Momonga the Adventurer about to be exposed amongst Blue Rose? Now, that is a big question. I want to ask you, anime onlys, how do you feel about that, and what do you think is going to happen? Because I don't want to talk about spoilers. I just want to know how you feel about that. Do you think Ainz is going to blow his cover? Do you think he's going to be heinous and kill Blue Rose? Just be honest in the comments below. But anyways, carrying on, let's talk about Evil Eye versus Intoma. Now, I know everybody's probably going to be very shocked, or mainly anime onlys are going to be very shocked with this episode. And the reason for that is because out of everything we've seen so far from Overlord, since everything was established, since Season 1, we always assumed, I assumed that before this point happened in the series, I always assumed all of the NPCs, they were way OP compared to everybody else in this world. And the only ones that most likely could even touch Ainz in them would be other real players like Ainz, or, far off in the distance like these ancient creatures or whatever, like demon gods or something. That's the only thing I could assume that would be able to touch, anybody from Nazarick. But when this happened in the light novel, I remember I was completely shocked. I was like, wait, what? Like, when you saw Intoma, she was actually putting up a decent fight, and she was actually kind of struggling a little bit to take down Blue Rose. It's like, oh my god, like, these adventurers, they're not that easy. Now, there is a couple of reasons why it was so hard for Intoma to take them down, but even then, though, this was a first. After everything we have seen from the series, I know for a fact anime only is going to be like, whoa! Gagaron and Tina, they're definitely not weak in any way, but for them to be able to put up a fight against one of the combat mates, that's just something else that, like I said, we haven't seen before. But let's clarify what exactly happened and why Intoma was struggling in the fight for this episode. So the big thing is that Intoma, she is, in terms of combat capability, she is definitely one of the weakest among the maids. Out of all the maids, she is definitely one of the weakest. And the reason for that is because she's more of like a buffer, like she buffs people and fights, and that's about it. So, in terms of fighting, she is definitely one of the lowest in terms of the maids. So, her struggling does make sense. But even then, though, it wasn't just that. That wasn't the big reason why she got, hurt really bad in this episode. It was because Evil Eye. Evil Eye is what really changed the fight, and Evil Eye specialized in a certain category of magic that is really good and effective against someone like Intoma, which uses bugs. For instance, she straight up used bug spray, okay? Let's just be real here. You had to where Evil Eye, she used bug spray against Intoma and messed her up. And so, because of how Evil Eye specialized in this certain level of magic, that's why Intoma got just destroyed like that. If it wasn't for that, it would have been a different fight. But even still, Intoma would not have had an easy time at all, because like I said, her level and also her combat capability. So that's what I really wanted to point out there. But Evil Eye, though, like I said, she is not weak by any means. She is definitely stronger than the normal adventurers as we've seen. Even Gagaron, very strong, very powerful after seeing this episode, but if you look at Evil Eye, Gagaron, nothing compared to Evil Eye. After seeing her kind of slightly put up a fight against Demi, even though it was more of, her flailing around, trying to, run for her life for the most part, still, she was putting up somewhat of a decent fight. So it does show that Evil Eye, in terms of normal, like, standard levels of characters, she's definitely higher. She's probably one of the highest in terms of, like, characters we've seen in this world. That's not Nazarick. Like, out of all the Nazarick characters, we know they're powerful, but this is probably the first time a character is around, like, the lower levels of Nazarick and actually can put up somewhat of a decent fight. It does add threat to the series. So anyways, let's talk about the situation with Intama and what kind of happened to her. So, I know for a fact, when I, like, read this for the first time, I was kind of freaked out about it. Like, Intama, how she lost her face and her, like, this lip bug, you know, fell out, and she just sounded completely different. And, you know, the voice, I imagine, when this happened in the light novel, I imagine a very different voice. It's not bad, so to say. Like, the voice that Intama had when she lost her face and all that, like her humanoid face, I don't think it's a bad voice. It just, I expected something a little bit more screeching by the way it was described in the light novel, and I'm surprised it didn't really sound that bad. But the face, though, oh my god, like, okay, I've never seen the face. I've never actually seen the face. I know there's, like, character sheets and stuff of individual characters for, you know, Overlord. I never actually personally went out of my way to look at Intama's, and this is my first time I really got to see Intama's face, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, her face was really disturbing. It was really messed up. I'm like, that cute little girl with that cute voice has such a messed up looking face. I'm like, oh my god. Like, oh my god. But, yeah, that was definitely shocking just to finally see that for the first time, and, you know, it just shows, you know, looks can be deceiving. Intama had that deceiving look, and then you see how once the mask fell off, she was completely different. So, let's talk about, you know, how there was a little bit of miscellaneous comments throughout that fight. One of the big things is that there was a comparison with Gargadon's armor and the maid armor that Intama was wearing. Apparently, she's like, wait a minute, why is her maid armor as strong as my armor, or tougher than my armor? What in the world is going on here? And I just couldn't help but chuckle deep within, because I'm like, that's kind of how games work, actually. That's kind of how MMORPGs or RPGs work in the first place. I don't know how many of you guys play RPGs. I don't know how, but I played enough to know that when it comes to, like, characters, you know, there's certain outfits that look like they should not be able to protect you from any harm at all. Like, there's no way certain armor sets should, you know, safeguard you, but they do, regardless. I mean, you have, like, swimsuits on certain female characters, but somehow they manage to guard them better than a full breastplate, and I'm like, what? I mean, it's obvious for fan service, and just seeing that little scene in this episode when she was commenting on the fact that Intama's maid outfit was even tougher than her outfit, even though it was more of a pleasant outfit to look at, I'm just like, that's, you know, RPGs for you. That's exactly what an RPG is like. Okay, so getting into some serious stuff, though. Sebastian. He destroyed all of them. Now, in the light novel, there was a lot more detail describing these individual characters. I mean, we got their titles, their names and stuff in this episode, but in the light novel, they were described a lot. They were, like, really gone in depth, and you even had, like, one that had, like, I forget the name, it's like Dimension Blade or something like that. There was like a technique or whatever it was called, or weapon, that one of the dudes had, one of the Six Arms had, and Sebastian, in his mind, he was like, that reminds me of my creator, Lord Touch Me Son's move, and so he got really cautious when he heard something like that from one of the Six Arms, and when he found out about it like it was just a regular move, then he just killed the man. So, I want to point out that there was obviously some details, like, axed from this episode. And now, as a light novel reader, I want to be honest here, I don't think it's that bad. I don't. I mean, the details that were cut, they're the world building, yes, but it's not that relevant. Like, the details that were cut, it's amazing if you're a light novel reader. Like, it's nice info, nice little fun facts here, but it's nothing that breaks the series, nothing that, you know, ruins the episode if you don't find out. So, those scenes that were axed, I think for the most part, Studio Madhouse, they did an okay job of that. I don't think there was any problems with them cutting out some of those segments from the light novel. I think many can agree with me. The only way I could see people kind of complaining about it is if you wanted to see more of a reaction from Sebastian, finding out that one of, you know, his creator's moves getting revealed and all that, and he was a little bit cautious. That's the only way I could see someone getting a little bit upset with that. Now, Sebastian just wipes them all out. One punches them completely, and it's just savage. Complete and utter savagery what he does to all of them, and it's like, oh my god, like, these characters, they think they're big and bad, they think that they're crazy strong, and when all of a sudden Sebastian comes out, he just one-shots them all, and I just couldn't help but chuckle because of how insanely OP our characters are. Which is a really good contrast to the second half of the episode when the Intoma was starting to get wrecked by, you know, Blue Rose. So like I said, good contrast there. So let's talk about this scene. This scene, oh my god. Like, I remember how violent this was in the light novel. And once again, Studio Madhouse, they've done it again. They're madmen. They have shown something I figured would get censored. When I saw the leg just snap and twist and all that, I'm like, what the crap? Like, what the crap? Like, yo, Madhouse! Like, I mean, I love that they're not censoring it. It's just like, I figured that would not be allowed to air with how horrible that looked. I mean, damn. So, props to Madhouse once again for keeping it real with some of these certain effects they add, or, you know, things that are very violent. They definitely know how to keep that real. It's one of the big reasons why I've been enjoying Overlord Season 2 so much, is because they have really been trying to not censor as much as possible, which I do truly appreciate. Demi talks to all of the maids and stuff, and he's like, okay, so we're going to be attacking the individual bases, and eventually he's like, you're not allowed to attack this one, especially you, Shaltir. And you see, like, you know, a silhouette. You don't really get to make out the person at all, but Demi tells everybody not to attack this individual person before they go in, which is the strange part. It makes everybody wonder, like, who is Demi talking about? Like, what exactly, or who exactly is that person? Now, I want to kind of pop up a couple of people it most likely can be. I'm not going to spoil, don't worry. I'm just going to talk about what information was given in this episode, and, you know, many of you can make an educated guess. You can piece together two different people from this episode alone. You can either say the person he said don't attack would be Momonga, Ainz, as an adventurer, which everybody would most likely know how he looked like. So, I don't think you would necessarily need to show an image, and it wouldn't really make sense for them to hide it, but even then, though, that is one person you can kind of figure out that maybe that's who Demi was talking about, and then the other person, it most likely could be the woman that was captured in this episode with her leg getting broken and dragged off. That could also be her as well. Regardless, those are the only two people you could really come to a logical conclusion with this episode. Now, I'm not going to go any further with that, but I just wanted to point that out, that obviously there's something very important going on with Demi for him to state something like that, saying, do not attack this person. So, enemy onlys, who do you think it is? Who do you think he's talking about? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, I think I want to end this video here. Let me know your thoughts. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like, and please be safe. Chibi out.